Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Gentle Movement at Home for Thursday, Wednesday. I'm not sure where we are in the week. My name is Jorgensen. I'm the Director of Education at PNBC, as many of you know. And today we're thrilled to welcome Colleen Jorgensen, who's our guest instructor for today. Hi, Colleen. And you have some fans who are saying hi to you in the chat. Some fans already, which is terrific. Colleen is an osteopath, a therapeutic yoga instructor, a Pilates instructor, and she's also done pain care education with Neil Pearson. She works extensively with people who are living with chronic pain, and she joins us today from all the way from Montreal. So we're really thrilled to have her. Before we get started, I just have a little bit of housekeeping as usual. So just a note that we can't give specific medical advice in these sessions. I think if you do have concerns, then it's really best to speak to your healthcare provider. Many people are offering virtual sessions these days, and we've just listed a few pain clinics here in BC that are open for virtual consults. We are recording, no participants. We can't see any of you, but of course, everyone can see us in the recording. The video is available on Facebook, our PNBC's Facebook page afterwards, and we also post them to our YouTube channel. So you do check there. We're getting quite a collection of videos, so send them to your friends. Encourage everyone to take advantage of this great resource. At the end of today's session, we'll have a little poll. If you could stay and fill that out, we'd really appreciate your feedback. And there's a couple ways you can communicate with us through the session. If you are having any technical issues, you can always put your query in the chat or email education@pnbc.ca. If you've got a question for Colleen, we'll spend a few minutes after session just to have a chat, and please put your question for Colleen in the Q&A. And if you can't find that, put it in the chat and I'll read it out to her. Okay, upcoming sessions. We've got one happening tomorrow with Neil at 1 o'clock. Next week, we've got May 19th, Tuesday at 1 o'clock with Neil, and again on Thursday, May 21st with Neil. So lots of great sessions coming up, and really hoping to see many of you then. So without further ado, I will quit talking and hand it back to Colleen.
Thank you, Jen. Am I good?
All good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I really want to thank Jen and Pain BC for putting on this program. It's a fabulous resource, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. So before we get into any movement, I'm going to talk just a little bit to give you some tips. So please get into a really comfortable position. Don't set yourself up just yet to move. For the class, the things that you might need are 2 face cloths or anything that slides well. You don't need a yoga mat unless you really want to use one. I would actually recommend a towel or a blanket, something that you're able to slide on the floor with instead. We will spend the majority of the class lying down. If getting down to the floor is a challenge for you, everything we're doing can be done on your bed unless you have a very, very soft bed. And then the last few minutes we'll spend in standing just to get us ready to meet the day, but all of that can be done in sitting if standing is an issue for you. So get very comfortable. We're not moving just yet. I just want to go through a few tips. So first thing is that as soon as we as humans come into a class setting, whether in person or like this, we seem to have this sense of duty or obligation to follow exactly what the teacher is doing. I want you to know that that is not what you have to do here at all today. You have an infinite number of choices that are available to you, and it is your choice to do what you want to do for your body today. Everything that I talk about, everything that I demonstrate, think of them as suggestions. If they feel good in your body, great, follow along. If they don't feel good in your body, try not to stop immediately. Try to figure out, when your body gives you that signal, try to figure out, what is it trying to tell you? Does it just want you to slow down? Maybe you need to check in with your breath. Maybe you have to check in with your body and see, are you using more effort to do the movement than you need to? And check in with the mind. Sometimes the mind can create a whole story around a movement we're trying to do. So for many of you, this is probably your first time taking a class with me. So my voice is new for you. The movements I do will likely be new for you, and the way that I cue is new for you. As soon as we have anything new, the nervous system gets a little weary. It goes, ooh, I'm gonna put my danger signals up a little bit because I don't know what to expect. So keep that in mind and cut yourself some slack. Understand that all of this is new, so give yourself a chance to adapt to my rhythm, to my voice, and to the way that I move. You also always have the option to take a break. You don't need to wait for me to give you that permission. It's always your choice to take a break when you feel you need to. And something that I actually highly recommend is you can always just sit, close your eyes, and just listen to the class and visualize yourself doing it as you're listening. Or you can watch me give the class and just visualize yourself doing it. And it's amazing how much the same neurons fire as though you're doing it yourself. So that the next time, maybe tomorrow or the next day, you want to try it physically, your system will find it less scary. Second thing is to go into any movement, not just today, as though you're a detective or an explorer. So rather than being weary of new sensations that come up, try to get curious about any new sensations. Think of any sensation, whether it's a sensation of pain or pleasure or somewhere in between. Think of that as another clue or another piece of the puzzle that helps you to figure out the most interesting, most fascinating case that you've ever worked on, which is your body. And know that every time you come to attempt a movement, you're kind of working with a fresh slate. So even if you had a negative experience in the past, today's a new day, today's a new nervous system, today's a new set of cells, and today might be the day that you have success. So go in with that attitude, and as soon as you have success, it's easier for the nervous system to then find success again the next time around. So again, come into it with that sensation of curiosity and play. When we've been in pain and we want to attempt movement, because it's often been challenging for us, we tend to really think about it a lot ahead of time. We tend to plan our movement, and as a result, before we even try to move, we can be quite stiff and even robotic in our movements, very linear. But if you think of a newborn or a puppy, none of their movements are linear. Nothing in our anatomy is a straight line. So moving in a straight line, linear fashion is not what's natural and easy for us. Moving in spirals and diagonals is what's easy and natural for us, and that's mostly what we're going to be doing in today's class. So I'd like you to take a minute to visualize a puppy. And a puppy at that stage when their limbs are a little bit too long for their body, so they're really kind of floppy and clumsy. And as soon as they smell, see, or hear something that they want to go to, they just go for it with full abandon. They usually stumble along the way, but they get right back up because they're so curious and they just want to get to the thing. So I'd like you to go into today's practice with a little bit of that attitude, so you're not taking it too seriously. And then lastly, all the movements we're doing today are really gentle, but even gentle movements, your system can react. So one good principle is to work with what I call the spring of the tissue. So rather than trying to go to the end of your range in whatever movement we might be doing, or rather than trying to go for that stretch sensation that we've been so programmed to kind of seek out, I'd like you to not go for those movements or those sensations, and instead stay in that sweet spot of your tissues where it's very springy, it's very bouncy, it's very easy. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say. We are going to get started now. Before we lie down to start the movement part, we're going to do a breath awareness practice. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to sort of get away from conventional norms of being in a class for a second and get into a position that you would choose if you're about to curl up with a good book or if you were about to watch a movie. So I'm going to just give you a moment to choose whatever position that means for you. So you're not in a classroom setting right now. You don't have to be equally distributed in your body. You don't have to have your spine lined up perfectly. Pretend you're about to curl up with a good book or watch your favorite movie. So I'm going to assume that you're there, and I'll ask you to just close your eyes and just take a moment to connect with your body. Try to notice what position you chose and what parts of your body are in contact with whatever surface you're on. Are your limbs supported? Is your pelvis supported? Is your spine up against something? Is your head touching something or not? Anything that is in contact with the surface, notice it and see if you can allow yourself to feel a sense of safety and security just by the fact that you're being supported by something right now. And then I'd like you to take a moment to internally look at the position that you've chosen to be in. It might be seated, it might be lying down, it might be somewhere in between, and figure out what is it about this position that made you choose it. What about this position makes you feel good in your body? Take a moment to evaluate that. Are you shifted over to one side? And if so, why are you shifted to one side and why do you like it there? There's nothing wrong with being shifted to one side. I just want you to notice why it is you might have chosen that. If you've chosen to lean your spine against something, how come? What about that lean is giving you comfort? And know that at any time throughout today's practice, you can always come back to this position if you need a little break. And then just take a moment to bring your awareness to your breath without trying to change it or influence it in any way. Just notice that you are breathing. And for a moment, marvel in the miracle that is our breath, that without you ever having to do a breath exercise ever in your life, 17 to 30,000 times a day, your lungs are going to breathe in and out for you all day. And that's pretty amazing. So maybe have a moment of gratitude for some of the things our body is doing to gear us towards a state of health. So for 2 or 3 more breaths, just notice how you're breathing. Pay attention to what parts of the body move when you breathe, what parts of the body are filling on your inhale, and which parts are emptying on your exhale. And also notice, where is the breath not going to as you breathe? Without judgment, there's no right or wrong here. We just want to know, what does our body do when we're not thinking about it? And stay here for just 2 more breaths. And then slowly open the eyes. Take a moment to bring yourself back into the room. And we're going to be going to a lying position, lying on our sides. My head is going to be at this side, so you're probably best to face me. I'm actually going to start in 4-point kneeling just to show you the movement that we're going to be doing. But you guys, oh sorry, my head is going to be at this end. But you guys are going to be on your sides. So in case you're not familiar with cat-cow, we're going to be doing a movement of rounding through the spine and extending through the spine. We're going to do that back and forth, but while lying on our side. So go ahead and lie on your side, ideally not on a yoga mat, because the yoga mat is sticky, and I'd like you to be able to slide along the floor. So I'm on a blanket. If you need something for your head, go ahead and support that. Your top arm can either be by your side or down on the floor, whatever you prefer, or anywhere else, anywhere that feels good. Both legs are bent at 90-90. And if you need an extra support in between the legs, go ahead and do that as well. So just like I showed you in 4-point kneeling, you're going to round your spine by bringing forehead and knees towards each other. And then you're going to extend your spine by bringing the back of the head and the heels towards each other. How quick or slow you go, how big or small you make the movement is completely up to you. Don't worry at all about what I'm doing. Do what feels good in your body. And often with these spine movements, it's good to start slow and small. And as it starts to warm up, and it's a little bit like oiling the Tin Man, as we start to oil the joints a little bit, it becomes a bit easier. Let's do 1 more each way. I seem to be traveling as I'm doing my cat-cow. I don't want to be out of the frame. And then come on to neutral. So in neutral, you're stacking your spine up in one straight line, one hip over the other, one shoulder over the other. And take a moment here, eyes open or closed, and just notice what it feels like to have that bottom side of your body in contact with the floor. Just notice it. And for a moment, you're going to yield into the floor. So with a feather touch, you're going to lightly press your arm and your bottom arm and your bottom leg into the floor, just enough so that you feel that when you push into a floor, something rebounds up to you to give you that support. And then just let it go and just be here. We're going to start at the head. Very small and easy. You're going to turn the head to face the ceiling and bring it back to the center. We'll do that a couple of times. I want you to keep your head as heavy as possible on whatever support you're on. And imagine your head is just like a ball, and you're simply rolling the ball, not to the end of your motion, not into a stretch, just to where it feels really easy, and pause here. We're going to work our way down the spine. So next we're going to target the shoulder and shoulder blade. You're going to roll your top shoulder open and back, sliding the shoulder blade toward your spine. Not to your maximum, just to where it feels good. Find that springy, bouncy place in your tissues, and come on back. So again, don't worry about following my tempo. Do about 3 or 4 at your own rhythm. And as you're doing it, start to notice, although you're moving your shoulder and your shoulder blade, do you feel that work transmit up the neck at all? We have muscles that connect the shoulder blade to the head and neck, so you may feel that. So on the next one, we're going to start with the shoulder blade, and then go ahead and allow the neck and head to follow. And come on back. Really easy, really soft. Start with the shoulder and the blade, and then follow with the neck and head. Never going to the end of your range, never even going into a stretch sensation, but find that bouncy, springy, juicy place in your tissues where it feels easy. And pause here. You can place your top hand on your middle to lower rib cage, and you're going to use the hand to roll those ribs towards the back, and then to roll them back to neutral. Always at your own tempo. And again, I want you to notice, although we're only moving the middle section of our torso, do you feel that work translate up your spine a little bit? Do you feel it translate down the spine a little bit? Just notice. Now start with the ribs, follow through with the shoulder, neck, head, and come on back. Again, start with the ribs, follow through shoulder, neck, head, and come back. Really soft and easy. One more time. Ribs, shoulder, neck, head, and come on back. Last one. You're going to place your top hand on your pelvis. And at first moving only the pelvis, you roll it towards the back and roll it back to neutral. And as you're doing this, just take a moment to check in with your breath. We want it to always be long, slow, smooth, and soft. Notice if it changes as you start to build the movement. So now we're going to build on that pelvis movement. So start with the pelvis, include the rib cage, shoulder, neck, head, and come on back. Again, start with just the pelvis and then travel up your spine as slow or as quick as feels good for you today. Keeping it really easy. I like to think that I'm in water, and that way it all feels really fluidic. Last one. And come on back. You're going to place your top hand on the floor. I'm actually a little bit short-limbed, so I'm going to place my hand on a block. Most of you probably won't need to do that, but if you do want to also have that height, you can. Imagine that your body is lying in a rocker, a baby rocker, and just with your fingertips, you're going to push through your fingertips to create this rocking motion. Try to get out of your head and not think about it too much, and just let that rocking action take place through your spine. Quicker is usually better with this one, but go with what feels good in your body. Pause. And then we're going to initiate the rocking from the bottom. So our top leg will slide forward and back so that it's like somebody is rocking us from the pelvis. Quicker is usually better, but you go with what feels good in your body. And then pause for a moment and just notice how that resonates through your system. Then we're going to lengthen both legs. We're going to go into a tree pose. So a lot of you may have done this already in standing in yoga. You can place the top foot anywhere along the inside seam of your pants. So I'm going to go up here, but choose any place. It could be down by the foot or ankle if that's what feels good for you. With your bottom foot, You're going to flex the toes toward your face as though you were standing on it. When we do that, you might have noticed that your heel might have come away from the floor. So what I'd like you to do is try to get the outside edge of the heel, outside edge of the pinky toe to stay in contact with the floor. Then we're going to put foot into the thigh, or wherever you're standing, thigh into foot. And notice how when you do that, it creates a sensation of support up through your middle. And then with your top arm, you go ahead, explore your space. You can keep it on the floor for balance if you want. Otherwise, challenge yourself by placing the arm somewhere in the air, any angle that you want. And we're going to stay here for 2 long, slow, smooth, soft breaths. And if you'd like, you can visualize yourself standing in this position. It's a little more challenging on our balance in standing, or I should say it's a different challenge on our balance in standing. Let's do 1 more breath. And then release the arm, slide that leg down so that they're both straight. Scoot yourself to the front of your towel. We're gonna go back to that last spiral movement we did. So lead from your pelvis, roll the whole thing, but this time keep going until you come to land on your back. So for me, that's too much support at my head. So I'm just going to change that. So try to just get a support on your head that has you feeling neutral. We're gonna start with both legs bent. Arms, you have the option of placing them anywhere on the floor that feels good to you. Try to choose an angle that isn't something you do all the time. It's nice to try different movements in the body. But for example, I wanted to go into a goalpost position here, but all it does is stretch. And I don't want to go into that stretch because it's going to take up too much of my nervous system's attention. So I'm going to go here for today, but you choose where you like. Do try to turn the palms to face the ceiling. So you're going to take your left foot and place it in the center of you so that it's in line with your pubic bone, and then cross your right leg over your left. If crossing the leg is not available to you, it's no problem to do this sequence with the 2 feet hip distance apart. You will still get the same benefit from it. Otherwise, you go ahead and cross. I'm going to actually borrow from my good friend and colleague Sarah Whiskar. She cued me through this way one time, and I just loved how it felt a little different in my body. So focus on that bottom foot, and rather than thinking of the 4 corners of the foot, I want you to think that you're on an ice skate, and you've got that ice blade that's right through the center of your foot. So think of how narrow a skate blade is. And now we're going to rock the knees right and left, but so small that you're not going to the inside-outside edges of your foot. You're only going to the inside and outside edges of that imaginary blade. So eyes open or closed, and just notice how that feels. Go however fast or slow feels okay in your body. And without changing anything, just notice, where do you feel that in your spine? Does that rotate only the pelvis area? Does it travel up to your middle torso? All the way up into the upper back? Does it come all the way up into the head and neck for you? There's no right or wrong. It's always good to notice what we feel. Pause in the center. Uncross the legs. You're going to step your right foot right in line with your pubic bone in the center. Cross the left leg over. And again, you have the option of keeping the 2 feet hip distance apart. Maybe change the angle of your arms on this one, even if it's just by a couple of inches. And then go ahead and do the same thing where you're rocking a little bit right and left with the legs, not all the way to the outside edges and inside edge of your foot, but trying to imagine that skate blade, and you're keeping it small enough that you're just tipping over to either edge of the blade. And pause, uncross. We're going to lengthen the right leg, keep the left leg bent. Arms now are going to be in a T position, so roughly shoulder height with the palms facing the ceiling. We're going to be stepping into that right foot just enough so that that right cheek hovers slightly off the floor, just a little bit, and then you let it come back down. We're going to go for a few of those, so go ahead at your own rhythm. Keep it really small, really soft, really easy. And you just want to hover. You're not trying to squeeze your butt muscle to lift it up like you would in a bridge. You're trying to use almost the lever of the knee reaching over the foot to create that hover of the pelvis. Now we're going to build on that a little bit. So we start the exact same way, but this time keep hovering until the middle ribs slightly leave the floor and come on back down. So keep going like that. You've got 3 options with your head. You can have the head turn in the direction of the bent knee. You can keep the head facing the ceiling, or you can take the head in the same direction as the straight leg. See which one feels best in your body. And come on down. We're going to build on it one more time. So you're going to place your bent leg hand on your straight leg shoulder. We start the exact same way, but you keep going until that shoulder and shoulder blades slightly leave the floor. And notice how I just allowed my head to spill with my body. And then you come on back. Go ahead at the tempo that feels good in your body. So don't worry about how many I'm doing or how fast or slow I'm going. Really tap into what feels good in your body. Movement should feel good. And come on back. One last one. And come on back. Bend both legs. Eyes closed for just a moment and just check in. How does it feel having done just the one side? Just notice if there's any sensation that's different from one side to the other. And then we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So you're going to lengthen the right leg, keep the left leg bent. Arms are in a T position, palms facing the ceiling. You're just going to step into that left foot. You're reaching the knee over the toes just to create a slight hover of that left buttock off the floor. Very small. You always have those 3 options with the head. Your head can turn towards the bent leg side. It can stay to the ceiling, or it can go towards the straight leg side. Try all 3 and see what feels better in your body, and it might change as we climb up. So now we're going to take the middle ribs with us. So you do the same action, but you're taking the ribs. For me today, it feels better to take my head with me, so I'm going to turn away from you guys a little bit to allow that to happen. You're keeping the shoulder blade on the floor for this part. And come back down. You're going to place the hand of the bent leg on the shoulder of the straight leg. And I should have mentioned, if you don't have that range available on your shoulder, you can have the hand on the chest, on the solar plexus, or just keep it by your side is completely fine. If you can reach, you go on the shoulder. So we do the same thing, but we're going to include hovering the shoulder blade off and let the head just follow. So I'm not actively trying to turn my head, I'm just allowing it to follow. We're going to do 2 more. One more time. And on this one, you're going to bend your bottom leg and you're going to just keep going until you spill over onto that opposite side. You guys stay there. Or if you feel you need to see me, you can turn around to face the camera, but I'm going to be cueing you through exactly the same sequence we did on the other side. So if it's difficult for you to move around, just stay where you are with your back to the camera. We're not going to be doing anything different, so it'll be familiar. So you're going to lie on the side you have not done yet. Both legs bent, head supported. And just take a moment to feel the contact of the bottom of that whole side body into the floor. And just notice, do you like that sensation? We usually have one side that feels natural to lie on and the other side that feels a little strange. That's quite normal, but notice which one feels more comfortable, less awkward for you. And then we're going to go into our cat-cow. So you're going to round the spine, aiming forehead to knees, and then extend the spine, aiming the back of the head towards your heels. How fast or slow you go is completely up to you. How big or small you make the movement is completely up to you. It's certainly easier if you're on something that slides on the floor that you're on, but if you're on a yoga mat or a carpet, you can still do it. It just requires a little bit more effort in the body than we would like, but it's still a good exercise, it's still a good movement. I believe I'm traveling again. I just want to make sure I'm not out of the frame. I'm assuming that Jen will let me know. Last time. And back onto the side. So now we're going to go into the rolling of the spine. So we'll start with the head only. Just think of the head as a ball and you're just rolling the ball a little bit towards the ceiling and coming back. Really soft. We're not looking to contract our neck muscles to get there. Instead, you're almost trying to rely on the weight falling through the back of the head. And it'll just bring you there like it's a water balloon and you've shifted the water towards the back of the head. And come on back. We're going to go to the shoulder and shoulder blade. So you roll that top shoulder open, slide the shoulder blade towards your spine, and allow it to come back. As you do this action a few more times, notice whether you feel the work come on up into those neck muscles, maybe all the way to the neck, maybe all the way to the head. Just notice it. And now we'll take the neck and head with us. So start with the shoulder and shoulder blade, and then allow the neck and head to roll. Really soft and easy. Keep going. Every now and then throughout any movement that you're trying, check in with your breath. Our breath is the best indication of whether our nervous system is feeling safe or not. We're going to go a little bit lower. Hand on the rib cage. You're going to guide the ribs towards the back and slowly back forward. A couple of times. So if at any point you've noticed that you're holding your breath or that your breath is getting labored or really fast, add the rest of the spine with it. So ribs, chest, neck, head. So if you notice those changes in your breath, just pause for a moment and allow your nervous system to focus on getting the breath back under control. And then once you have it under control, you join back in. Last one, we're going to go down to the pelvis. So hand on your pelvis, guide the pelvis to roll back and back to neutral a few times. The other thing that you can check in with is your body tension. There's really no need to be contracting anything. Nothing should be tightening up really strong in this practice. This is all very, I've said easy 1,000 times. I'm trying to find a different word for you. Very juicy, sliding, gliding vertebrae. Now take everything with you. So start from the pelvis, let the ribs, chest, neck, and head follow, and it all comes back. So there's no need to grip with any muscles anywhere throughout this movement. You want to keep it small enough and slow enough that it feels safe for your system and that it feels easy in your spine. One last time. Okay. And then we're going to place the hand either on the floor, or if you're short-limbed like me and you need to support it on something, imagine that you're a cradle, like a berceau, and you're going to rock the cradle by just pushing into those fingertips. Try to get out of your head for a moment and just be in your body and create that rocking motion. The nervous system loves to rock. Let it just soften. And then we're going to create the rock from the bottom part. So you're just going to rock that top leg forward and back a few times. So we're doing the exact same rocking action, but initiating from the bottom half of the spine. Notice which one you like better. How do they feel different? Or do they feel the same for you? No right or wrong answer. And let it just pause. Notice how that resonates through your system. And then we're going to go long legs. We're going into the tree. So you're going to bend your top leg, place your foot somewhere along the inseam of your pants. I've got mine up at the top of the thigh, but you could be down by the knee, you could be down by the ankle or foot, wherever feels good. Make sure that you're lined up on the side of your body. Flex the bottom foot toes towards your face. And just take a moment to check in that the outside edge of your heel, outside edge of the pinky toe are in contact with the floor throughout the whole thing. And then take a moment to press your foot into the bottom leg up into the foot, and notice how, I all of a sudden got a little bit more support. And you might feel that support come all the way up through your midline. So use that to hold your balance, and then you go ahead and place your arm wherever feels good for you. There's no perfect place. Make it your own. If your balance is challenged in this position, you can keep your fingertips on the floor and just stay here for a couple of slow breaths. We've done a lot of movement with the spine. So if your breath got a little bit quick, use this opportunity to slow it back down, to make it soft and smooth again. And release the arm. Let that leg lengthen. You guys are going to turn onto your stomachs. I'm going to actually stay up sitting for this first one, just so that I can demonstrate the position for you and so that you can hear me well. So you'll be lying on your stomachs. Actually, you're going to have your hands on either side framing your face. So for this one, I'm going to suggest no support for the head, unless you really have a forward head, in which case fold up blanket or towel to place it under the forehead. You're going to start with the head turned to one side. It doesn't matter which side you start on. And then, using as little effort as possible, you're going to slightly lift the head just enough so that the nose almost grazes the floor, to turn to face the other side and let that whole side of your face come to rest into the floor. Pause there for a moment, and then you go ahead again. You lift that head just enough to clear the nose, come to land on the other side of your face. At your own rhythm, do a couple more either side. And as you're doing it, I'd like you to check in with the muscles that run alongside the spine. They're parallel to the spine from the top of the head, from the base of the skull, all the way down to the tip of the tailbone. Notice how much are they working for you, and then see if you can decrease the effort by about 50% and make it a really easy. Imagine a newborn baby, how they lift their eyes to see the room and then they lay their head back down. One last time. So you guys are going to stay on the floor, stay on your stomachs. Now you're going to have one hand on the other with your forehead resting on your hands. I'll have my head turned towards the camera just so that you can hear me well, but please keep your forehead down on your hands so that your neck is in neutral, okay? So this time, we're going to be working with, use whatever arm is to the outside of, or it actually doesn't matter. I won't go right or left, I'll just cue arm and leg. So you're going to choose one arm. You're going to press into the hand, forearm, and elbow, just enough that you feel the muscles of the chest wake up a little bit. Hold that for just a moment, and let it go. With the opposite leg, you're going to press into the top of the foot until the knee hovers off the floor. Pause for a moment, and let it go. One more time, same arm and leg that we just did. So press into one arm, all the way to the elbow. Just hold that for a moment and notice what woke up when you did that action. Let it go. And then press into the top of the opposite foot till the knee hovers off the ground. Pause there and let it go. And now at the same time, we're going to press into that arm and opposite leg at the exact same time. So forehead is in neutral, press into arm and leg at the exact same time, and pause there. And while you're there, see if you can feel the connection between the chest all the way across your body to the front of the hip, and from the shoulder blade all the way diagonally across the body to that buttock. And let it all go. One more time, that same arm with opposite leg. And as you're there, see if you can notice that diagonal connection from arm to opposite buttock and hip. And release it. So now we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So whatever arm you have not done yet, you're going to press into the arm, hold just for a breath, let it go, and then press into the top of the opposite foot, hold, let it go. One more time, arm only, and notice if it feels any different from the other side, or does it feel exactly the same? Let it go. Top of the opposite foot, let the kneecap hover off the ground, hold, and let it go. And then that's arm and opposite leg together. So at the same time, press into the arm and leg. Notice that diagonal connection from the front of the shoulder to the front of the opposite hip, and from the shoulder blade to the opposite buttock. And back down, one last time. Arm and opposite leg. And back down. Now we're going to do all four limbs at the same time. And you have the option of, as you press into all four limbs, of hovering the head and heart, or you keep the head and heart down as you press into all four limbs, whatever feels better in your body. Okay, so take a nice inhale. On your exhale, press into all 4 limbs. And if it feels good to you, you hover the head and heart. Stay here for 2 breaths. And as you're here, notice that crisscross. It's like you've got a seat belt across the front of the body and another seat belt across the back. It's actually 4 seat belts crisscrossing along the back of the body. Gently let it all go. We'll do that one more time. Press into all 4 limbs, the 2 arms, the tops of the 2 feet. Hover the head and heart if that part feels good. And notice how supported you might feel in this position. Pause here for one more breath. And come on back down. So this is the point where we're going to be using our face cloths. If you don't have them, you don't need to get up to get them. It's just to add a little bit more slide, but it's not absolutely necessary. So shift yourself over a little bit so that when you bend one knee, it's going to be on the floor, not on your mat or on your blanket. I'm going to put it on a face cloth just to give that extra slide. I've got something supporting the head. For me, I like that. You don't necessarily need it. And then you've got your forearm also on something slidey. If you're straight on the floor, it's completely fine. It just adds a little more glide with this. Now, if you're not able to get to 90 degrees here at the hip, that's fine. You go at whatever angle feels good for you. So first, just settle into this position. And then we're going to slide that top arm overhead, only as far as feels good. We're not looking to go into a stretch, and we come back. Really allow the weight of the arm to be supported by the floor. So you're not trying to lift it off the ground at all. One more time. Then we're going to slide the elbow down towards the hip and back to neutral. See if you notice anywhere in your body that might be tensing up or gripping unnecessarily. Now we're going to do the leg. First, slide your leg down towards the foot, and then back to whatever angle feels good for you. So especially when we go to move the leg, you might find that certain areas of the body kick in to help you. Check in for a moment and ask yourself, do those muscles need to be helping you right now, or could I do it by really allowing the leg to just melt into the floor? Now we're going knee towards the armpit and back to your starting position. It doesn't matter how big this movement is. What matters is that it feels good, that it feels easy, that it feels juicy in your tissues. And pause here. Last time, we're going to go elbow and knee towards each other, elbow and knee away from each other, elbow and knee towards each other, elbow and knee away from each other. One last time. Elbow and knee towards, elbow and knee away. Now you're going to lengthen that leg, turn your head to face down, forehead resting on both hands. You guys stay there. I'm going to come up to the other side so that you can hear me. So just turn your hands to the opposite side. You're going to bend the opposite knee and the opposite arm. Go ahead and place your face cloths on the forearm and on the knee if you have them. If not, it's fine. Take a moment at first just to settle into that position. And then we'll start with the arm. So you're going to slide the arm towards overhead and bring it back down. Really allow the full weight of the arm to be supported by the floor, and allow the face cloth or your clothes to really let you just slide so that it's quite effortless. Pause here. We'll go the other direction. So elbow down towards your hip and back to your starting position. Down towards your hip. Back to your starting position, last one, down towards the hip, back to your starting. And then with the leg, so you're going to slide the leg down towards the foot, come back to your comfortable position, go for 2 more on your own. Check in at this moment with the rest of your body. Is anything gripping that doesn't need to? Any muscles trying to help you that don't really need to be helping you right now? And now go the opposite direction. Bring the knee up towards the armpit and back down. Twice more. So also check in with your breath and check in with your mind. This might be a new movement for you. Anything new can be a little bit scary for the nervous system. So See if your mind is creating a whole story around this movement, and if it is, acknowledge it. Enter into that conversation with yourself and figure out, well, what's my system trying to tell me? What's it afraid of, and how can I make it feel more safe? Then let's do the two together. So elbow and knee come towards each other, elbow and knee away from each other. Do that a couple more times, it's your rhythm. And see if you can imagine translating this motion into being in your kitchen and reaching up overhead to get something in a closet that's higher up. When you go to do that the next time in your kitchen, remember how supported and safe and easy it felt when you were on the floor, and see if you can translate that into that sense of ease when you're in your kitchen. So now lengthen that leg so that your body's in one straight line, forehead on your hands, and just take 2 breaths in that position. And just notice how your body feels after having done that. And then you're going to place your hands on either side of your lower ribs, lift up to the crown of your head, and bring yourself either into a 4-point position and do an easy cat-cow, or you might feel that you want to come into a modified child's pose with your forehead resting on the 2 fists, or whatever position of ease you might like to use as a transition. And we're going to just finish with a couple of small things in standing. So you can have your face cloths ready. And Jen, you'll let me know if I'm out of the frame, but hopefully you can see feet and head. So assuming you're standing now, if balance is not a big issue for you, I'd like you to step onto your face cloths. Be aware that now we're on a sliding surface. We're staying still though, so it's not too bad, but please be aware, okay? Knees are soft, feet are about hip distance apart. We're gonna spiral the arms and legs inwards as we round the spine. And then we're gonna spiral the arms and legs open as we extend the spine. So you go ahead at your own rhythm. I'll show you that from the side. So bend the knees, spiral everything inwards and round your spine. Lengthen through the knees, spiral everything open, and extend the spine. Twice more at your own rhythm. So basically we're mimicking that cat-cow action that we first did in sideline. But notice how different it feels when we don't have that contact with the floor. And neutral. Just allow the face cloths to come away so that you're on solid ground. Soften both knees. Imagine you've got a rainbow sort of coming through you. You're going to go up and over the rainbow to just come over to one side. Lengthen as you come up the crest and down the other side. Up and over, really loosey-goosey. And up and over, your arms are hanging like a rag doll. And then same thing, but I'm gonna reach one arm to the ceiling as I look down at my bottom fingers. Pause here and just find that spring in your knees, like you're being suspended from the ceiling. Come on up, same thing other side. Find that bouncy place and hang out there and enjoy that sensation. One more time each side. This time we're going to look up at the top fingers and find that spring. Up, last one. Look up at the top fingers and find that spring. Come on up tall. Take a moment to really ground into your feet. So now we do want to find those corners of the feet. Anchor into the knuckle of the big toe, knuckle of the baby toe, center of the heel. Lift all 10 toes and the arches of your feet. Notice when you do that, you might feel that similar type of support up through your midline, like when we were in that side-lying tree. I want you to keep that sensation of support. Keep the arches lifted, but spread your toes as long and as wide as you can. Lay your toes back down on the floor. Keep the arches lifted. Keep pressing into the toes, so it's like you're trying to push the floor away until, oh, my heels just float off the ground. We're going to try to hold our balance here. Arms in whatever position feels good for you. Hold your balance here for 2 more breaths. If you fall out of this balance position, no problem. You come back up slowly when and if you're ready. Last breath. Slowly lower the heels, slowly lower the arms. All the way back down. And we're going to end by shaking the knees, shaking the arms. It's nice to make some sort of sound, maybe a Ah. And pause. Notice how that vibrates and resonates through your system. Hopefully that gives you some energy to now face the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll send it back to Jen.
Thank you, Colleen. I hope everyone enjoyed that. We had lots of people participating today, so that was
good.
Great to see 22 people doing that class. So that is just terrific on Zoom and a few more on Facebook. So that is awesome. It was a really nice class. Okay, we've just put up the poll. If you wouldn't mind letting us know what you thought of that class and your time with Colleen, that would be excellent. It really helps us to get your feedback. Colleen, we have a question, and I'd invite anybody on who can stay for a minute. If you would like to submit a question to Colleen, we'll just take a few minutes and go through them. So the first question is, someone is writing that they get foot cramps, especially when they're lying on the front. Could you suggest any alternatives? I imagine that's quite a common problem.
It is a very common problem. So it often happens, so we spend so much of our time with the feet when we're sitting or standing that they're in this dorsiflex position. So for a lot of us, we become so tight at the front that trying to get neutral is too much. So when you're on your stomach, you can roll a blanket or towel. I just want to make sure this is in the frame when I get down here. So that you have that not under the toes, but at that bend in the ankle. Can you see that, Jen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So my toes are able to hang off, and that usually makes a big difference in the cramping. Is that okay?
That's a great little trick. I have this problem in my practice too. I'm going to do that.
It works very well. But I will also say that for those who do get that cramping, it's a sign that your feet have gotten very used to being in that flex position. So I encourage you to keep going there. Start with more of a roll, and gradually over time, make it a smaller and smaller roll until eventually you can go flat without cramping.
That's an excellent tip. Thank you. Okay, we have another question. Okay, was the last set of lying down exercise supposed to have been done with your front lying down on the floor and just moving the arms and legs? Or, I'm not sure.
So I think I might understand.
So the second part of the question is do you have any suggestions if your chest kind of gets in the way of that exercise? So I guess when you're lying down, you're supposed to just be moving your arms and legs, but it can be a bit difficult.
Got it. Yeah. So I'll say two things about that. So I should have mentioned, it's a bit of that position where you sometimes go in bed where, yes, I am on my stomach, but you have a little bit more weight on the long side. So you can allow that the side of the bent arm and knee to come off the floor a little bit. And if you don't have the mobility in the hip or shoulder, which the breasts might be creating, you can just stack up thicker towels so that when you're lying, you're not lying flat on the ground, and play with how much you give yourself. And the more height you give, the easier and more freedom you'll have in both the hip and the shoulder.
Okay, so maybe just getting in it makes sense. So people just need to experiment with some props and having a stack of towels.
I encourage that for all movement. If any movement doesn't feel natural in your body, use as many props and toys as you can. It can make a huge difference sometimes. Just to change something by a couple of centimeters can all of a sudden go from being really uncomfortable to feeling, oh wow, this feels great. So take the time to explore these.
I appreciate that, because I think sometimes we forget that we can use all of these things to kind of help us in our practice, right? And it's not cheating, it's just it's a really good thing to do.
I'm actually glad you said that, because there's a big misconception that it's cheating, and it's not. It's quite the opposite. It's listening to your body and giving your body that support that it's asking for.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, here's a question. Someone says that they get a lot of muscle trembling and twitching. Is that a sign to back off, or is it because they're weak and have nerve problems? That's a little bit probably hard for you to answer.
Yeah,
but,
yes. So it can be very individual. So I'll give a general response that may or may not satisfy this person. In general, if you don't have some sort of neurological condition that's causing that trembling, it could just be a sign that you're working hard and your system is feeling challenged. So I think the question was, should I back off? No, not necessarily, unless that sensation is fear-inducing for you or is uncomfortable for you. It often is just a sign that you're working hard, and it's your body's way of saying, oh, okay, wow, this is challenging. So always take in the message, acknowledge that, okay, my body's trying to tell me something. And if you're okay with what it's telling you, then keep going. If it's creating that change in your breath, or it's causing you to hold on tighter because you're worried that it's something that's more important, then you have to listen to that. I don't know if that satisfies her, because it's a bit general for that kind of question, but without knowing her specific issue, I'm afraid to answer that more.
yeah, I think it might be a good time to check in with her healthcare provider.
Yes, although having said that, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's a very normal thing for many, many people. So not to be afraid of it, check for sure. But if you check and they reassure you that it's perfectly normal, don't be afraid of it, and be that explorer that just, it's another clue. Okay, this is one of the ways my body reacts when I challenge it. And some people, that is how it reacts, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's great context. Thank you. Okay, so this is a question that a few people have sent in. They're feeling a little bit nauseous during exercise. Is that normal, and what can you do about it?
So was that during this class in particular, or during exercise in general? Do you know? Probably not.
Well, they don't say, but I think probably, I think it seems like it's a general problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
generally not great.
I have a feeling there's probably could be more than one cause, but I'll give the cause that I think is most likely. The vagus nerve is a nerve that goes from the brain. It exits behind the ear on both sides, comes down between the heart and lungs and through the diaphragm, and then is in charge of the whole digestive system. Whenever we have tension on the vagus nerve, one of the things we can feel is nausea, dizziness, a rapid heart rate, feelings of anxiety a little bit are also things that we can feel. So I wonder if perhaps they might be holding their breath, or breathing very shallow, or breathing very fast, and that might be triggering that vagus reaction. I can't say without seeing them directly, but that would be my suspicion. So what I would do is to slow down, check in with your breath, and really take the time to get the breath long, slow, smooth, and soft, and see if that makes a difference. And I have a feeling it will.
Great. That's a good tip. Something to try anyway, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Two more questions, I think. Okay. So someone said that they found doing cat-cow while lying down is harder than doing it on their knees. Is that normal?
Any sensation you feel is always normal. And I love hearing all the different feedback. When I do that in a big group, we usually do it both like that on the hands and knees. We do it on the wall. We do it lying down on our side. And everyone's always got a different experience, which is great. It's another way of showing how unique we all are. So there's not one recipe for everyone. And anything that's new is usually more challenging. So if you've never done it that way before, but you've done it several times on the hands and knees, then your system for the first time is going to go, what the heck? You know, so it's not negative that you found it harder. It's something to notice. I usually encourage people to try to do the harder things a little bit more, because if it's not natural for you, it's usually what we need a little bit more. The things we're good at, we probably don't need to do as much because we're already good at them. But no, it's not abnormal. It's not a negative sign at all, but it's great that you noticed that it's different for you in one position than the other. That's already a win.
Awesome. Okay, and so this is a good question and could have lots of different answers. Someone is asking, well, I know there's a lot of resources around this question, so that's why I'm saying that. But what breath exercises do you recommend for pain?
Oof, yes, so that is a very broad.
And I can just, I know that we have a bunch on our our education website for people living with pain, liveplanb.ca. So I'm just going to put that link in the chat. So you do your answer and I'll put that link in, because I know we have some guided breathing exercises on there.
So the beauty of using breath is that the breath is so connected to our nervous system's reaction. So there isn't one breath that I would say is the perfect breath for everyone in pain. It doesn't work like that. But what I would suggest is, at first, if you're new to doing breath work and you're in pain, I would start with the ones that are easy for you, that don't feel too stressful for you to go through. And as you get more in tune with the breath, more aware of your breath, start to introduce many different types, because the more varied we can be with the input into the body, the more choices we then have. And when you're in pain, one of the most difficult things to deal with is the sense of the loss of control over your life. So to have choice is a really great thing. So over time, the more different styles of movement, the more different styles of breath practice, mindfulness practices, awareness practices that you have in your toolbox, all of those give you more choices to choose from, so that on a day when you're not feeling great, if this one doesn't work for you on that day, then you've got other options. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's great. And I've just in the chat, if people want to have a look there. So I just put, even if you just search on breath at LivePlanB, www.liveplanbe.ca. If you search on breath, you'll actually get a number of guided breathing exercises.
May I also May I also give my resource for that, Jen? Since March, I've also been putting several breath practices up, both on my Facebook and YouTube channel, both of which are just under my personal name. So you can find quite a large variety on there as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
You know, one of the things, Jen,
your name. Is it S-E-N or S-O-N at the end? Sorry.
My name's S-E-N. S-E-N. One of the things when it comes, like we talked about at the very beginning, it's one thing to follow a practice like you're doing today. That's fantastic. But even better is to work up to the point where you're feeling confident in your own body awareness, that you trust what you think is good for you on any given day. So once you've learned different breath, movement, awareness practices, trust that you know what you need on a given day. Your body knows. Your body has all the answers in there. Sometimes we just need to get out of the way and listen to what our body is trying to tell us, rather than wait for someone from the outside to reassure us that that's the right thing. And if it turns out that you were wrong, okay, so that's information that you have next time. That one wasn't the best one on this day. Doesn't mean it'll never be good for you again. It just wasn't the one on that day.
Very wise advice. Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome.
I think we don't have any more questions. So I just want to thank everyone again for spending this hour with us. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Colleen. It was really,
thank you so much, Jen.
a terrific class.
I appreciate being a part of this. Thank you.